You are now listening to the Schrobank Show here from the Rated R Studios. I'm Champagne Schroeder. I also got with me today EDJ.
What's going on?
Rated R Randy. And my man Rowdy Ray.
What's happening?
Alright guys, today we got a great show for you. We're going to jump right into it and go ahead and talk about all of our favorite moments in sports history. And I'm going to go ahead and start with my man Rowdy Ray over here.
I got to go with not even so much us winning the 2015 World Series, but the parade. That's what did it for me. You know what I mean? You seen a sea of blue out there. What was it? They said between like 1.5 and 2 million people. Right down there at where was it at again? Not the Plaza, but Crown Center area, Union Station.
Yeah. And then the pictures from it was crazy. Exactly. It was amazing.
And to like be there in the moment and watch Johnny Gomes kind of just go off for a minute. Like low key, he had a Jason Kelsey moment before Jason Kelsey. Nobody talks about it though, but yeah, that's like the pinnacle of like sports for me.
I mean, it was a crazy moment here in Kansas City. Like just the whole city was all about the Royals.
Also, just to throw a little shade, they done got 2 titles since the Chiefs done got 1.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah, let that sink in.
That's cool, motherfuckers.
Yeah, let that sink in. You know what I'm saying?
We finally have an elite quarterback now, so we about to rack him up.
Right.
Time.
And coming from a Cardinals fan, let's
No,
count
hey,
rings.
Choose your
Hey, Raven, hold on. What's that one ring that we have? What year was that? Was that, who was that against? I can't remember. There's that one team. It was an 85. Who we played?
Oh, yeah.
Who was that one team?
And they're still crying about it?
Yeah,
like,
something
to this
about
day, right?
something about that.
Hey, man.
Some with some pine tar? Or,
No.
No, it's a blunt call.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. 11-2 speaks for itself. All right.
Hold on, 11-2. It's more actually once the Royals came into an organization in '65. It's more like 3-2.
Boom.
Just saying.
In 65,
In '65.
Cardinals won the World Series in 82, 2006, 2011.
3-2. 85, 2015.
Especially for such a young organization.
they just 3-2. Yeah. We
3-2.
still got more.
Well, I didn't say you had less. I just said 11-2 since the Royals became an organization.
What?
That doesn't make any sense. That's like saying that I don't know what it's saying like, but it's the.
So you telling me
65.
the Yankees aren't that good because they only got a couple of championships to last?
No, because you're not comparing the Yankees rivalry to the Royals rivalry. You're comparing a Cardinals rivalry to the Royals rivalry when the Royals weren't even around until 1965.
Right. And since then, we still have more world championships.
I didn't say you didn't, but I know. I'm just
proving
saying,
my point, though.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying it's 3-2. It's not 11-2. Since the Royals were created.
Fair enough, but I mean, well, y'all should have been around. Y'all couldn't hold a baseball team here.
Hey, we still got the best Negro League music.
They were the Kansas City A's, and they got moved to Oakland.
Exactly. So y'all should have kept your team.
Mm-hmm.
We did. We got a new one.
Yeah, we didn't have to.
Hey,
This
yo.
guy. Anyway.
All right, yeah, let's keep it moving.
I'm not even a baseball fan. I was just happy Royals got one in my lifetime. That was dope.
Yeah.
To have a major sports championship in the city, that was dope. But now we have Patrick Mahomes, and we about to really get it cracking up in here.
Well, you would hope so. You would hope so, but a lot of people, or not a lot of people, but a few top analysts have compared him to Dan Marino, a guy who was probably the best quarterback of that time and just never got back. So hopefully it's not a Dan Marino scenario. I don't think it is because the teams are really good, but that defense is suspect. So, I mean, hopefully Spagnolia will, bring some life to it. And I don't know, we'll see, but I don't want to see Dan Marino. I want to see him out in Montana or something.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I'll
He's
go
got
next.
all the talent in the world.
That's true. I'll go next. Actually, my first one, Regon actually stole mine, bastard.
My bad.
I actually have to go, for the first one, I'll go with the Royals wildcard game against Oakland. Yeah. That's probably the single best wildcard game since the game was created. A wildcard game was created. That was the first year it was created, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I mean, that's exactly what, for games like that, that's exactly why it was created.
I mean, that was insane because
Yeah.
the Royals were done. but I mean, they came back and won the game, and that just kind of set the tone for that team. They just don't quit. They didn't quit, and that really set the tone. They didn't lose another game until Game 1 of the World Series. And that's crazy.
Which I'm pretty sure that was a record, most wins in a row
7,
in the postseason.
8-0.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so for them to do that, especially in that scenario, that was really impressive. So yeah, that's at least one of my favorites here, along with the parade.
And not to mention, they came from way back in the standings and ended up getting that wild card spot.
Yeah, they were below 500 at the All-Star break, and then I think they finished 10 games over at that point, and then they got in a wild card against Oakland. And somehow Oakland wasn't as good as they were, but I thought they were. I guess I don't know. I can't remember how the Royals got the home game over Oakland, but they ended up getting it, and I think that's what saved them.
Yeah, I think it came back down to like the last few days, and they ended up getting that home
Well, the
game.
Royals actually almost won the Central that year, too.
Yeah.
It came down to the final game, and Detroit, I think they won their game, and the Royals needed them to lose. But that year was crazy. I mean, we're talking about a team that literally was 90 feet away from back-to-back World Series.
I still, to this day, don't understand how they didn't send Gordon.
Gordon would have been out by a mile.
I don't think so.
I think he would have.
I don't think so.
Because base running speed is completely different than open field speed.
That's true. That's very true. But I think that he was so far ahead of that ball was just being picked up about when he was about coming around third. So I think by the time, unless you got the perfect throw, I think that he probably would have made it. And even then, what would you rather lose the World Series on? You got Salvi versus Bumgarner next, or you've got a chance at winning, or what that would have tied the game.
It would have tied it. Yeah.
So you would have had a chance of tying the game, possibly trying to get Bumgarner out of the game, but you've already got the tie. Or if you get the out right there, I mean, you lose the game, but at the same time,
you go down in a blaze of glory.
Yeah, I mean, Bumgarner had one of the greatest postseasons of all time.
Yeah,
that
he
postseason,
did, and I get that, but I mean, Perez which adds more fuel to your point. Perez was wildly swinging in 2014.
Yeah,
I mean, he was swinging at everything you threw at him. So yeah, Gordon should have probably gone, but I see what they were trying to do, and Perez wanted a freaking title. So I mean, you can't blame them, but they came back the next year and they were hands down the best team in baseball by a lot.
Okay,
so
time out.
Anyway, yeah, it's your turn, Cardinal boy.
All right. Speaking of the Cardinals, I'm gonna go ahead and go with 2006 when the Cardinals won the World Series against all odds. Wasn't supposed to win that year. That Mets team was so stacked. They had Carlos Beltran, Carlos Delgado. Pretty sure Tom Glavine was part of that team.
Mm-hmm.
That team was just super stacked, and I'm pretty sure it was a grand slam by Yadier Molina that ended up getting us into the World Series. And what that would have been Molina's third year in the league. Yeah, very young Molina. He was a rookie in 2004. And then getting to the World Series with that Detroit team that had a rookie Verlander, Maglio Ordonez, Pudge behind the plate. I mean, that team was supposed to win that World Series. And
they had Cabrera then, didn't they?
No, they didn't have Cabrera yet.
Yeah,
that was before Cabrera. I'm pretty sure they had Jose Guillen playing first base. Yeah, I want to say.
Yeah,
and that bullpen, Joel Zamaya, who would come out of the bullpen throwing 100+. They had a really good bullpen. That just the way we won that series and we ended up getting it in 5 and winning the World Series at home. It was just a pretty dope moment, and the first was a rookie year for Adam Wainwright too, and he ended up being the closer and striking out Beltran to win the NLCS and striking out, I'm pretty sure, Brandon Inge to win the World Series. And they set a record for most errors by pitchers in that World Series, did the Tigers.
Yeah, I remember that.
They're just throwing the ball all over the place. What about you, Rated R Randy?
Oh, man. I also would like to take you guys back to 2006.
I already knew.
A simple time. I was still leaning with it and rocking with it. TIP, Drop King.
ATL just came out.
ATL just came out. It was just a simpler time. I didn't have to pay bills. All that good shit.
Coogee was still hot.
Coogee was still hot. South Pole.
3XT.
All that. 3XT.
3XTs was still cool.
I mean, even though we are in the midst of a do-rag revolution,
I know.
we was letting the capes fly back then.
Yes, sir. All that good shit. And somewhere in the NBA, Shaquille O'Neal was on the Miami Heat, joined by a trusty sidekick, not known to too many people. And after a gut-wrenching series versus the Dallas Mavericks, where you were down 0-2 to the great Dirk Nowitzki, 34.7 points later, 7 rebounds, and 3.4 assists later, 3.7 assists later, everybody knew his name. Dwayne Wade! That's my favorite sports moment, man. When the Miami Heat won their first Miami Heat won. That's my favorite. Hold on.
He need a second.
That's my favorite sports moment, man. When Miami won their first ring, and basically Shaq, handed off his expertise and whatnot, man, and just gave it to D Wade. And that was like, really, it's not the first finals I sat and watched, but up until that time, it was just the most exciting finals that I watched. It was like every night I knew this dude was gonna do something I've never seen. Whether it be a crazy layup or what have you. And to think that was only his third year in the league, and he had vets that he had Alonzo Mourning, which at that time he was the best Miami Heat player alive, and Gary Payton, who had never won a ring. And for him to get those veterans their first ring was special. So that's my favorite sports moment for my favorite NBA player all time.
And not even to mention the finals. What about the conference finals?
Oh, yeah.
Against the Pistons?
Oh, yeah.
That crazy-ass play that he made falling down, just threw the ball back.
Yep.
Just back in the day when Champagne Schroeder used to still watch the NBA.
Yeah. What a fall from grace.
Long time ago. Talk about favorite sports moments of all time. An NBA one that I would definitely say ranks really high. Just a couple years before that. Or maybe it was the year before that. The Lakers-Pistons finals. That was the first finals I remember, really, being able to digest and, actually comprehend everything that's really going on. And watching the whole finals. And that was a dope finals to watch. That was a dope team to watch.
Yeah,
I think, okay.
04.
Yeah. That Pistons team with Ben Wallace.
Oh, yeah.
Rip
Unbelievable,
Hamilton,
man.
Chauncey Billups, Tayshaun Prince. When they won the title, they had Rasheed Wallace, too.
Yep.
Yep.
She was what put him over.
Man. Antonio McDyess coming off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody thought they had a chance.
Boy.
Rip Hamilton.
Rip Hamilton, man. That was my dude.
Is that team really as underrated as we thought they were, since they have all those guys that turn out to be Hall of Famers?
At the time.
Yeah.
I mean, at the time, but
Oh, yeah. At the time. But, I mean, looking back on it, I don't know. That team is...
That's probably one of the better teams.
because looking back,
Yeah.
everybody believes, the OKC team that lost against the Heat should have been a dynasty.
Yeah.
They should have.
Yeah, they
So-
should have.
I don't know, but yeah, definitely dope. Definitely dope.
My second one is actually a local one, and it was in 2010, and Levi was actually there with me, and it was Liberty versus Kearney, and Winnetonka. I think it was their district championship for basketball in 2010, and the field house was completely full. If you remember that, it was
Yeah.
totally full, and I mean, it was literally an environment that you wouldn't expect from something that is literally just a high school district championship game. But I mean, people were throwing popcorn in the air. Remember that? It was crazy. It was insane to watch that happen. But that was kind of at the pinnacle of popularity for Kansas City in high school basketball until recently, with Jalen Lewis and Ronnie Bell and a couple other guys. I think Ochai Baji. Yeah, he was fantastic. Uriani from Lee Summit West plays at Oklahoma State now. Until recently, and Christian Bishop plays at Creighton now. Until recently, it was kind of dead. But those guys brought it back. But that had 09, 010 had Michael Dixon, Denton Kuhn, Sean Adams, Brian Adams, Kevin Starr. I mean, there were a lot of really good players in that year. And to just witness that experience and to realize that I think people realized how big that moment was, even for that particular sport. That's just always stuck with me.
Who was the kid that was dunking all over everybody?
Denton Kuhn.
Yeah,
He went
that boy.
to Princeton, and then he actually went to the Nuggets.
No shit. That's crazy. That also reminds me of one year. I can't remember what year it was, but I went to the NAIA tournament that they hold at Municipal every year. And, man, William Jewell came in as the very last seed.
Oh, you were there for that game?
Yes.
Yeah.
Who was it that they knocked off? The number one seed.
It was some team from
First
Texas.
round. Yeah. First round.
William Jewell?
Bro, Municipal was popping.
Yeah.
It was
crazy.
popping,
I
bro.
believe it.
Because we sat there and watched the whole tournament the whole day. So we had been there since early in the morning, with just watching basketball, like just game
It
after
usually
game
starts
after
at
game.
about like 11 o'clock, and they don't
Yeah.
stop till about 9.
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus.
And so William Jewell was the last game of the night because I think it was I'm pretty sure it was the whole first. It might not have been. It may have been half of the first round, but whatever the first day entails, we watched like pretty much the whole first round. And William Jewell was the last game of the day, and man, they ended up knocking off the number one seed, and that place was going crazy. When we came back, we couldn't because we were sitting on the floor basically for the first hours of the game. When we came back, there was nowhere to sit. We had to sit at the very top of Municipal.
Oh, and that's like sky. Like those are like the real nosebleeds up there.
And I mean, like, low key, it felt like that place was shaking. I mean, I don't know if it really was,
It
but
probably was, because just to be real,
That place was old.
is
yeah, that is
as
true.
fuck and
But it
rickety.
was loud. I couldn't believe how loud it was.
It's basically like a bowl
crazy.
in there.
Yeah, it was crazy. But my man Rowdy Ray got another one for you.
Yeah, it was 2008, and my cousin was playing for Ray South, Keith Parker, and they went to state that year, and they was playing what's the name of this school? Hazelwood East, at the what's the stadium downtown St. Louis? What is it, Edwards Jones Dome? Ain't that it?
I think it was
football
Edwards
for football.
Jones
Yeah,
Dome.
Yeah, Edwin
Yeah,
Jones
yeah.
Dome.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I think
They
it's just the
changed
dome
it.
now.
It's just the dome now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember it was Edward Jones Dome, and like it was like a big family deal. Like we all like literally like half of the family went to go watch and support my cousin, and Hazelwood East came to play. Like they had grown men on that team. I'm convinced.
Those teams in St. Louis, you might want to check their IDs on like half those kids.
Oh, hell yeah.
Because I mean,
Like I seen like 3 kids that look like Leonard Fournette. I was like, man, this is bullshit. But low key, like Ray South had some cheats. They had a whole bunch of like big ass Samoans on the squad. So
yeah.
When I say that was the best football game I'd ever watched, that oh my god, it was fireworks from start to finish.
Word.
Like everything you wanted. There was great offense, great defense. What was it? And it came down to like the last play, like what was it, like last minute. They managed to stop him on third, and they knew if they couldn't score a touchdown, because I think it was 8. I want to say it was like 21-18, and Hazelwood East. What was it like? It was low key like on some Eli shit, like in 07, like when he like somehow like dug out the fucking pocket, rolled out, and just launched a fucking bomb. Like I'm talking like 40 yards down the field, and he just drops a fucking dime to the man in the corner. But to this day, I still don't believe both feet were in. And they said there was some like rule stipulation where like only like a toe had to be in or something like that. But
Well, is it 1 foot or is it 2 feet?
in Missouri high school, it's 1.
okay, so it's 1. So he might have had that 1
Right.
foot, but at the time everybody was saying, oh, 2 feet had to be in. They was going off like the pro rules.
Right.
So we're sitting there thinking Ray South just got robbed of a championship, and Hazelwood East is going crazy over there. All those grown men and their wives over there. But yeah, just how magical that was, and it was almost like watching a game on a big stage.
Yeah.
Because what the Jones Dome can hold like 40,000 people or something like that.
Probably more. I'd assume. I mean, the Rams played there. I'd assume it's more, but I mean, I'm not 100% positive. It is dope when you have like those moments. Like it's not supposed to be big, but it feels big.
Yeah.
Like basically the last 3 we've been talking about.
Yeah.
And it's pretty dope when it's like such a small, maybe kind of small, but at the same time like a lot of a lot of noise can be produced from a small crowd.
For sure. And it wasn't nearly packed, but it was about half full though.
Right. That makes me think of a couple of times at Arrowhead. Not only the MUKU game, the year Denario Alexander broke all the single game records with Blaine Gabbert, and they played Todd Reesing and Jake Sharp. That KU team. That was the loudest that stadium's ever been. I've been to some games at Arrowhead. The Steelers playoff game being one of them. It was pretty damn loud at the Chargers game that we went to.
I don't know.
Damn near definite.
Yeah, it was, because I think I was there too at that particular game, because I know you were there with Bryce.
Yeah.
I think you're right about that, but I think the loudest I've ever heard Arrowhead is that Colts game this year in the divisional round. It was just absolutely crazy to hear how loud it was and how angry it was, and it was just a really good time. It was like a big party almost. So that's easily the best moment at Arrowhead I've ever had of all time, and that's probably easily one of the best moments of all time.
What a crazy moment that would have been to be at that Colts game, and tickets dropped like an insane
They did drop,
rate.
and that's why I went. And the power went out at our house like 2 hours before kickoff, and I was like, well, shit, guess I'm going to the game, better buy a ticket.
what a great...
I know, and and I got...
power, fuck it, let's go to the game.
Well, I got that seat for like $73.
Yeah, that's not bad at all.
Yeah.
I was trying to hold out for AFC Championship game tickets.
Those didn't go down.
They went down for a minute, but they didn't go down low enough.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been a game to be at. That would have been a wild game. I can say one other time that I was at Arrowhead that was just insane was Christmas Day. I don't know what year it was, but we played the Raiders, and we stopped them. I'm pretty sure because I went to another game against the Broncos on a different year. I think it was Christmas Eve. But in one of those games, we stopped. I think it was in the Broncos game. We stopped them on 4th and 1 to win the game by a couple of points. The Raiders game, Lawrence Tynes hit I think it was 37-yard field goal to win the game. And when Kerry Collins was the quarterback for Oakland.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And those were both just insanely loud games to go to. But other than that, at Arrowhead, I think those are probably my top experiences. I got to see Peyton Manning play one time at Arrowhead. That was quite an experience.
Yeah, I don't think I ever got to see the bigger guys play. I mean, I saw Andrew Luck play, and he's a good quarterback. If you watch him throw the ball and you watch him operate, he's pretty good. But that stage, I mean, he struggles on the big stage, and that's blatantly obvious in his career. Because he wet the bed in Arrowhead for sure. But I mean, that whole Colts team wet the bed in Arrowhead. I mean, there wasn't a chance. But yeah, there's some guys that I'd like to see. Aaron Rodgers is coming here this year, and I'd like to see him play. I'd like to see him play, even though it's towards the end of his career. But he's still Aaron Rodgers.
Last time he was here, he took a L.
Yeah, that's true. That was 2011, 2012?
I think so. That was the year... They were undefeated, weren't they, at the time?
That was either Andy's first or second year.
Yeah.
No,
that was... I think that was Romeo Cornell's team.
Cornell's
that was Romeo Cornell's team,
Yeah, that was like their last game of the year, wasn't it?
It was towards the end of the season, yeah.
And then, Packers didn't.
It was an awful team.
Terrible that year.
Yeah, we had an awful team that year.
Yeah, we beat them. Yeah, I remember that.
All right, moving on from some of our favorite sports moments of all time. Transitioning into UFC 235 coming up this weekend. We got Johnny Bones Jones back in another main event this weekend. He's facing Anthony Lionheart Smith. The welterweight title is also on the line with T. Wood facing Kamaru Usman. And we got another great welterweight bout as Ben Askren finally makes his debut in the UFC against ruthless Robbie Lawler. What you guys thinking about this card?
Fuego.
Right?
That's a good card.
Fire.
Like, all in all, like, this card doesn't miss. There's only one fighter on the card that I'm not sure of, and that's who Tisha Torres is fighting. But, yeah, Cody Garbrandt versus Pedro Munoz, that's fireworks. In the aforementioned fights, if we finally get to see Funky Askren do his thing, I expect John Jones to be, just as dominant as he's been. And honestly, like, even though Woodley has shown a lot, that Usman fight is still a pick'em to me.
Think so?
I mean, because they're eerily similar.
They are very similar. I think T Wood has a massive advantage standing up though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just for the sheer power in his hands.
No.
You think he's more technical?
Fuck yes. You don't think so?
Nah,
You don't really?
I don't.
Really?
I personally don't.
I'm kind of shocked.
I,
All right, so what about them 2 Wonder Boy fights?
I mean, no, like that was definitely impressive, but you could definitely see that he was popping like a jab just to at least work him towards the cage, like a lot more cage work, clinch work, and to eventually get the fight to the ground.
Right, but he also dropped him.
I mean,
Standing.
like that's what I'm saying with the power in his hands. Like,
Right, but okay, so
I just didn't feel like that was necessarily technical.
to fight that part wasn't technical. The footwork, the movement, the everything he did around it, that was the technique. And I mean, to not get beat by Wonder Boy standing, I mean that's pretty impressive. Striking wise in my book.
No, I'm not trying to take anything from it. I'm just thinking Kamaru Usman is a bit more technical than Woodley is. But that's just, like I said, that's me. That's just...
No, yeah, I hear you. I mean, hey, that's what we're here to do is to debate this shit.
And the main thing is that maybe I haven't seen Usman against the same competition as Woodley, which is why I'm giving him the technical advantage, because the guys he's gone against have not been the best standing up.
Who's he? You know what's funny about all this is they've just been feeding him everybody that Kobe beats.
Right.
And I don't understand that, especially now for the spot that we're in. You got Kobe as an interim champ sitting off to the side. Even then, I mean, what was the point? And even then, why not just keep him as the interim champ? Whatever. I mean, he won the belt. Why not? I mean, at some point, you're going to have to bring those back together. I mean,
exactly.
I just don't get the point of, like, what's the point of making an interim belt if you're not going to show any... Like, it's not worth anything if you don't give it any meaning.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And now we technically have a fractured title, even though it's not really,
Yeah, now it's just the undisputed title again.
Exactly, which doesn't make sense because it was never unified.
Yeah, because I don't mind interim belts. I know a lot of people debate about interim belts and, if they're good or not, but I don't really mind having all the interim belts. I mean, not to get excessive with it, but like the Adesanya and Whitaker fight. I feel like from people that don't really like interim belts, you could really argue, why would we have an interim title fight? But why not? You know what I mean? If we can see that fight quicker and whatnot and put that on it, why not?
In that case, it makes so much more sense because the champion just had a serious, life-threatening surgery. So he's going to be on the shelf for a while.
Right.
That makes perfect sense to make an interim title. Tyron Woodley was literally making progress to get back in the cage, and then they decided to make an interim title.
They pulled the trigger too late on it. It basically is what happened, because if they would have done the interim belt a lot earlier, it would have made a lot more sense.
It would have made more sense, exactly.
I mean, either way, we're here now. Usman versus Woodley. I think that's going to be a really good fight, but I think it's interesting that you think that he's a more technical striker than Woodley.
And that's what I was basically trying to get at, is that, his competition hasn't been as proficient striking, so he gets to look better. You know what I'm saying?
And then the fact that Woodley also basically, he pretty much finished Till on the feet. I mean, he dropped him good and then hit him with that Doris. He had some good elbows on the ground.
Yeah, he did. To help soften him up some.
And then that's another dude. I mean, he stood toe for toe. I mean, wishy-washy decision, but he stood toe-to-toe with Wonder Boy as well. So, I mean, MMA math doesn't always really add up.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the fact that we saw Woodley against Wonder Boy twice and then the Till fight, I mean, we'll see. I got Woodley heavily favored in this fight.
Heavily favored? Yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard to go against a, 4-time defending champ. So,
yeah.
I see the pick. Let's talk about the people's main event, though. Robbie Lawler versus Ben Funky Askren. He finally gets to make his long-awaited UFC debut against some stiff competition.
Yeah.
How do you see this one working out? Who you favor more in this one?
I halfway think it's going to be a clean wash. Ben Askren is going to run right through him.
Ooh. It's a little spicy.
Because of his wrestling?
Because of his wrestling.
Yeah.
I think he's going to take him down. He's going to beat him on the ground. And I don't think that he's going to finish the fight via strikes at all. There's a possibility he could, just if he gets Robbie in a position where Robbie can't really defend himself. Mm-hmm. But if he's going to win, it's going to be by submission. I'm taking Askren in a 3-round decision, unanimously.
Clean.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be a rough night for Robbie.
Especially coming off of, what was it? Some type of, like, lower body injury.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And when's the last time Robbie fought? The RDA fight. And then before that was the Woodley fight, wasn't it? I don't think he fought in between. I think something about winning the belt for Robbie, he did what he needed to do for his legacy, and I think that he's kind of just out here fighting right now.
Yeah, I don't want to make that judgment just yet, but it is trending towards that, you know?
And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, and that doesn't mean that you can't be dangerous if you're just out there fighting. I mean, look at Dan Henderson. Look at Vitor.
Exactly, how dangerous they were when they weren't even fighting for belts. They were
they were just there. I mean, Vitor was trying to get them to create a legacy division for guys that just wanted to fight, which I don't even think would be a bad idea, honestly.
See,
but,
man, here you go with this free show shit.
Hey, man. Hey.
Cut the shit. That shit's terrible. It's a horrible idea.
I mean, yeah, that's true.
If you want to get brain damage, get brain damage.
No, I'm not trying to see that. I'm not gonna pay for it. I'll say that.
I would. I'd still pay to see Vitor fight.
So like you and like 10 other dudes.
Yeah.
And terrible.
I mean,
the only
throw some
really,
TRT in there.
the only really foreshadowing of that would be when Sonnen fought Silva the first time, and Sonnen kicked the shit out of Silva for 5 rounds. And then what was it with like 40 seconds left in the fight? Silva just threw up a triangle. Sonnen didn't tap, by the way. But
he did.
Talk about spicy.
Yeah, he did.
But
anytime you gotta ask the ref, did I tap? You tapped.
well, but anyway, that's something to look out for Ben Askren, because I mean Lawler. I mean, it's well noted that Dana White and Ben Askren don't get along. That's pretty clear. So I mean, Lawler's doing it for Dana and the UFC. He's doing it for Lawler, Dana, and the UFC.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he's considered Dana's guy, and Ben Askren's considered the outsider, right? He's considered the guy that nobody likes
That's true.
in the
I
UFC.
thought about it like that.
So I mean, this is for Dana, and this is for the UFC. I don't see it happening. I think Askren's way too good. But and I think Askren is such a good shit talker that I think it's going to get to Lawler. It's going to make him mad. It's going to throw him off his game, because Lawler has a lot more riding on it than we think. And when Lawler loses, or if he loses, I think he'll lose, but if he loses, is he in the UFC anymore?
Oh, yeah.
I think so.
Don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think
he
he's
probably
only...
He probably will be. He probably will be.
Yeah.
At that
But-
point, he'd only be 2 fights removed from a title fight.
That's true.
You know?
But
I
you
just
never
think,
know.
that is true. You never know, but I think a guy like Robbie, who's exciting. I mean, look, Diego Sanchez is still on the UFC roster,
That's true.
so I think that as long as Robbie wants to continue to fight and put on shows, I mean, obviously, if Ben Askren were to starch him or something like that, and finish him pretty quick, and then maybe Robbie gets one more fight and doesn't look good, I mean, you're obviously gonna probably try to convince him to retire.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he's a guy that he's going to retire in the UFC. I don't think they'll... I mean, unless he absolutely has to keep fighting. I mean, then, I'm sure Bellator will pick him up.
Right. I mean, it was...
They'll swoop him with the quick.
Oh, yeah.
Right, yeah.
Easily.
I mean, it's not so much of is Lawler going to retire because of personal reasons. Is it because he didn't do his job?
Right.
and it could be it too. But for the Woodley fight, I mean, I think Woodley's...
So you're... I see what you're getting at.
Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is Dana is wanting him to win this fight because he doesn't like Ben.
Right.
And he might kind of take it out on him.
Right.
If he doesn't win this fight.
That's not past Dana White.
Okay.
Let's be real.
I totally agree with you.
I get that, but
I just didn't
why would
catch on to
make a
what you were
trade
saying.
For him? That's the main thing. Why would you trade?
He
with
sells.
him?
But at the same time, look at Dana. Like Eric was saying, look at Dana. Dana is not above he definitely sees the UFC at this point, and they're up here. Why? They don't care about the flyweights. So forget Demetrius Johnson. He was just keeping that division around. Good riddance with him. Let's bring Askren over, put him against a really tough guy. Hopefully he knocks him out, and then we can just end all that nonsense of, if you bring him right over and he gets beat by a former champion that obviously, like we're talking, is kind of past his prime, doesn't that put, the whole Askren theory to bed that, he's just as good as everybody else? You can basically kind of sweep him under the rug.
I mean, yeah, but then there'll still be guys out there that be like, well, he didn't get a fair shake. He got one fight in the UFC, and that was it against, some tough competition.
I mean, that's totally true, but Robbie Lawler's the type of fighter that'll change your life in them 15 minutes, possibly. You know what I'm saying? He might not be the same again after Robbie gets a hold of him.
That's possible.
But that's just perspective from Dana White, maybe. I mean, and Askren's gonna sell tickets.
I mean,
Demetrius didn't.
Yeah.
And see, that's the main thing then. So if Askren is, putting asses in those seats, then why would you cut him after a loss?
I'm not saying I don't think that they would cut him after a loss. I'm not saying that.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about Robbie more along those lines. If Robbie were to lose,
okay,
because it's not working into Dana's plans. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
but I'm saying I definitely could see where Dana kind of has a plan of like, hey, let's put him against Robbie, and maybe Robbie will really fuck him up, and we won't have to hear about this Ben Askren shit anymore.
Well, it's basically gonna.
And plus, he doesn't really have plans of going for the title anyway, as long as Woodley's holding it.
Unless they make that 165 belt.
Yep.
And boy, Dana's not trying to budge on that. You know why Dana's not trying to budge on that? Two guys. The guy we're talking about,
Nate
and Khabib.
Oh,
Well, Nate too, but I'm just saying I don't know, Khabib's kind of iffy for me with the UFC and what they want to push, but I mean the fact that he beat Conor and all the fiasco ensued, I mean I don't think that he's probably looked at that highly around the UFC.
No, with the brass, no, he's not, too.
They would love for Conor to come back, starch him and around, and Conor to soar right back up to where he was.
So that way they kind of bury him.
Right. Well, basically, the Lawler and Askren fight is basically a life-changing event for one of the guys.
Right.
And in Dana White's view, he's hoping Lawler pulls a Brock Lesnar versus Frank Haith.
Mir?
Huh?
Frank Mir?
No.
Who?
Oh,
Heath Herring.
Heath Herring.
Yeah. Oh, God.
Like 30 seconds. Didn't he break his orbital bone?
Yeah, the first punch of the fight.
Yeah.
First punch of the fight, and man rolled over to the side of the cage. So
I mean, that's what Dana's hoping for. But at the end of the day, it really just comes down to Askren, being the better fighter, and I really think Dana White has put himself in a tough position because once Askren wins, and like we said, Woodley, Askren probably won't fight Woodley.
No, they said that they won't fight each other. We know that they will not fight.
Askren is secretly hoping Woodley loses, but at the same time, it's bad for business if Askren wins. So it puts even more pressure on Lawler because Askren naturally would want to fight Woodley after that.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of things you can also do. I mean, because also, look at if Usman loses. I think that's an easy matchup to make, right? Usman versus Askren.
Yeah.
If Askren wins, Usman loses.
Well, I mean,
it's even better if Usman wins because then you can do it for the belt. But
right. Well, if they keep doing that and Woodley keeps knocking people out and winning fights, then Askren keeps winning. Then eventually, you run into a scenario. Okay, well, these two guys keep beating everybody. Who the hell are we going to put them up against now?
But then also, how long is both of them going to fight? But Askren really, because Askren's already been retired once.
Right.
They brought him out of retirement for this.
Yeah.
So
and Askren's not a spring chicken. If I'm not mistaken, he's 36, 37.
So I think it comes down to I think they're both at the same point in their career between Robbie and Ben Askren. I think that Ben Askren is just here to say, "Hey, I'm Ben Askren. I know you guys don't really know who I am. I was fighting in one championship. I'm gonna come show you who I am.
That I'm elite,
and then I'm gonna see y'all later."
Yeah. He's gonna get his bag.
Unless you guys want to pay me and give me a title shot,
yeah,
I might stick around a little bit.
And I don't see why he wouldn't be opposed to going up to 85. He was at 85.
Who's the 85 champion right now?
Whitaker, who's on the shelf. We got the interim belt between Adesanya and Whitaker, or not Whitaker, Gastelum.
Yeah,
but
personally, I don't think he wants that smoke with them 85ers. He's a bit too thin.
Yeah. 65 would be a much better bet for him.
Sure.
But he's also had to deal with, because in one championship they don't cut weight.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he had to go up to 85. So picks wise, we'll go with the top 3 on the card, the 2 championships fight and the fight that we were just talking about. So at the end of the day, who do you got? What round? How's it ending? Robbie Lawler versus Ben Askren.
I think I've got Askren. Probably, I think he tires out Lawler too much. I would say probably second round technical finish for that one.
TKO.
Yeah.
What you got ready, Ray?
I'm going with a clean 3-round decision sweep. possibly a couple 10-8s in there. I wouldn't be surprised though if we got a late 3rd round finish.
Yeah, I could see that too. Going back to what you were saying a minute ago, Askren is 34, Robbie Lawler's 36.
Oh shit, he's 34. Damn, I thought he was a lot older.
But still, I mean, that's not.
I just remember seeing pictures of that dude, like posters of him in like high school locker rooms. Like he was the shit.
But he was.
So it's personal investment there. But I got Askren.
Yeah, I got the same thing. Unanimous decision, Ben Askren. All right, so the welterweight title fight, we talked about this a little bit. I want to get your opinion on the striking matchup me and Ray was talking about a little bit. Do you agree with Ray on that Kamaru Usman's stand-up might be a little bit more technical than Woodley?
Woodley's a monster. I mean,
I think so too.
It's scary to watch him use his stand-up because his hands are so powerful and fairly quick. Not the quickest, but I mean quick enough to. It's scary. Woodley's one of those champions to where once he got the belt, he's probably going to keep it. He's just one of those guys. He's like a GSP type. He's hard to beat once he gets the belt. So I would say Woodley definitely has an advantage in almost any fight. Not in a super fight. I don't know, but in a fight in his weight class, I would say probably the only person that we will never see, maybe, but technically probably will never see is Ben Askren. That's probably the only person that would match up to him in any way, shape, or form. I would go with Woodley. And I would be surprised if we get past the 3rd round.
Yeah. So, what are you expecting with the finish?
I think Woodley puts him to sleep.
Puts him to sleep what round?
Probably the 2nd round.
Second round knockout.
Spicy.
Honestly, I can see it.
I'm seeing another decision. 5 rounds. Probably 48-47 Woodley. Like I think Usman's he's got the tools to beat Woodley, but they're so evenly matched and so similar as a fighter. I just feel like Woodley, at least in the power aspect, will definitely edges him out in the wrestling aspect. So that's how I see it. I think Woodley will eke out a clean but kind of close decision. You know what I'm saying? Where we'll have one of those rounds that's a toss up, and those always go to the champion. So yeah, nice little 48-47 Woodley.
I'm kind of leaning more towards EDJ here with the. I think Woodley's gonna finish him. I think that Usman might hold on a little bit longer than Till did. I think it might be 3rd. I'm gonna go with 4th round. I think he's gonna finish him with a TKO. I think he's gonna end up finishing him at some point. I think his wrestling will be better than Usman's. I think his stand up is a lot better than Usman's, and I think his cardio will be better. And I think in the end, that's what's gonna get him, especially in those championship rounds. But going into this fight, you got Woodley, who's 36. Kamaru Usman's 31. I didn't realize Usman was 31.
Yeah, he's not super young.
Right. And then you look at the reach. Usman will have a 2-inch reach advantage. But I don't think that'll matter too much, honestly.
Because Till had something crazy on him, didn't he?
I mean, Till's a damn 185er. At 170, basically.
In so many words.
All right, and we got the main event of the evening. Johnny Bones Jones versus Anthony Lionheart Smith. This fight is a lot more interesting to me than what it seems to be on paper, for real. When you look at the two, you got John Jones is 31, Anthony Smith is 30. It's the same height, and then John Jones is going to have, obviously, a reach advantage at 8.5 inches. So, I mean, he's got a solid reach advantage, but Anthony Smith measures up with him pretty well, I think, other than the reach. I mean, it's hard to measure up to John Jones's reach and, his length that he has.
Oh, yeah. How tall did you say Anthony Smith was?
They're both the same height.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly. 6'4", I think.
Really?
Yeah.
He does not ever appear that tall.
Right. Well, I didn't think that either. Yeah. I was watching a little bit of the Countdown show, and I started realizing when they were showing them together, I mean, yeah, they're...
Same height, basically?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, John Jones with his arms looks like he's 9 feet tall. So.
I mean, that's true. That is very true.
So what do people expect from Anthony Smith to make him a worthy opponent of John Jones? Because like you said on paper, Anthony Smith has 13 losses. And obviously, Ray said that he expects John Jones to be dominant as usual. So what makes this a compelling fight that you think is going to be, Champagne?
I think the biggest thing is the whole story behind it. Anthony Smith had a previous stint in the UFC, did not go well at all, and I think that he learned and grew from that. Then went outside of the UFC, picked up some experience, came back, and now with the last, I mean, how many ever months it was, he had 3 or 4 finishes, and I mean, went on a little legend killer spree with Rashad, knocked him out, knocked Mauricio Shogun Ua out, and was it choked out Volkan Ozdemir?
Yeah.
So the record is deceiving with Anthony Smith. I think he's got heart. He's got a lot of heart, like his nickname, Lionheart.
That's why they call him the Lionheart.
Right.
He's fearless. So, I mean, at the end of the day, though, does that add up to anything against John Jones, though? I mean, are we really sitting here now having this conversation that this guy who's had a second stint is going to beat John Jones?
I think it's possible.
Jones.
I'm not even saying I'm gonna pick the man, but I'm saying
Exactly.
It's possible.
You're not going to pick
No,
him
I'm not
against
gonna pick him.
easily the
I'm
best,
not.
easily
But
the
I'm gonna
best
argue-
fighter of all time. You're not going to pick him against John Jones. You couldn't pick anybody against John Jones.
You know what? Fuck that Anthony Smith first round knockout.
If that happens, I will give you my wallet.
I want when he's smoking. Boy on that good dope.
But then again, I don't think anyone expected Anderson Silva to break his leg against, was it Weidman the second time?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, shit like that happens.
Right. Something interesting I want to bring up real quick. I was just watching about on MMA On Point a video of post-fight interviews. Chael Sonnen in that fight with John Jones. If that fight would have lasted to the second round, Chael Sonnen would have been the world champion
Sure would have.
by Dr. Stoppage because he fucked up his foot.
Yeah.
Anything can happen in the sport.
But it's the best fighter in the world. By a lot.
Yeah, you're right. But
By a whole lot.
anything can happen. Anything.
See,
Put this man
Anything
to
is
bed.
possible.
By a whole lot. I mean, we're not talking about by like a small margin. We're not talking
Yeah.
like John Jones like versus I don't know.
I mean,
you know,
Matt
a
Serra
young-
wouldn't shit compared to GSP.
Yeah, but Matt Serra was actually like talented though. I mean, Matt Serra was actually a good fighter at that
Oh,
point.
shit. That's where
Well,
came
he
at.
beat GSP though. I mean,
Yeah, but before that.
but even then, no. Do you? Okay, here's the thing: GSP versus John Jones, a younger GSP, a healthy GSP, versus John Jones. Did GSP win that fight? No.
hell no.
Yeah, but that's.
No.
I see where you're coming from, Shorty.
It would be good.
Because it sounds like apples to oranges. Because like we're talking about
Right.
almost a 40,
Right.
damn near 50-pound advantage.
Right.
But yeah, if we were going like off of pound for pound, even then I still
Okay.
don't-
Okay. Let's make it more. It's Silva versus Jones.
See, me and Schroeder talked about this like 2 weeks ago, and I
Yeah.
said decidedly Jones would win it, like 9 times out of 10.
Prime Jones versus Prime Silva. I don't think this like.
I disagree.
I think it's a toss up. I think it's a toss up between those two.
The only way I would see it being a toss up is Silva was so good in his prime of just hitting you so quickly and putting you
Yeah.
to sleep.
Well,
Yeah.
and Jones plays into that a little bit, I think, because
'Cause-
the way his work rate, like we talked about after the Gus fight, he's constantly throwing something. I mean, it only takes one time to counter, and you know what I mean.
But
But
look at the front kick Silva throws.
exactly.
I mean, it was nasty, but
Do y'all really think he's throwing a front kick that high?
No, but we're just talking about the.
The creativity.
He's gonna come up with something.
Mm-hmm.
The spinning back elbow he threw, I want to say against Nick, in the middle of that fight, just
Mm-hmm.
out of nowhere, and just threw it
Okay.
off.
I'll say this though too. Jones knows who he can play against, and this is the one thing I'll say. Silva is not immune to mind games, being played by mind games either.
no,
Right?
he's very.
And
That's
physical.
true, but we're talking about Prime Silva.
Prime Silva. No, you're absolutely right. Now, take into account who Prime Jones has in his corner. He has, the MMA version of Bill Belichick.
This is true.
Greg Jackson. He's going to devise
You know
the
what's-
perfect plan.
You know what's interesting about that though? Is Prime GSP.
Would have also had a
Greg Jackson.
Yeah,
That makes that interesting.
it does. If you could figure out a way to make them similar sizes.
You think Greg Jackson could beat either one of his own fighters?
I've always wondered that if trainers
Like a
could beat their
Belichick-
fighters.
like-
Yeah, like if Belichick
Yeah.
had to play Belichick, basically. Like,
No. Honestly, no, because it's an immovable object meeting unstoppable force. We're talking about infinity at this point.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just an infinite.
My brain hurts.
Exactly.
Basically.
Does not compute.
So basically,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, back to the main event, the picks. So, EDJ, what you got? What round? How's it going down March 2nd?
I don't see how this gets past 3 minutes.
Jesus Christ.
I just don't. I mean, if John Jones doesn't take it seriously, it'll get past 3 minutes.
Right.
But John Jones is a killer.
Yeah.
I mean, he takes anything seriously once he's in the octagon.
Well, and I definitely don't think after everything that's happened, I mean, he's fighting for his legacy and to be known as the greatest of all time.
And the greatest of all time fighting for his legacy, that's terrifying.
Yeah. I mean, that's very
terrifying.
true. That's
So,
very
I mean,
true.
I really don't see how this gets past 3 minutes. I don't.
With submission knockout?
John Jones, either
or.
I can see him submitting him, but I think he knocks him out.
Knocks him out. First round knockout, EDJ going with. So, what do we got, Roddy Ray?
Maybe not as quick. I'm seeing a 3rd round finish, probably a submission, after a spirited 2nd round from Anthony Smith, because they don't call him Lionheart for nothing.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going down without a fight. It may seem like he has Jones in some trouble for a couple seconds, minute or so, but Jones will figure it out and then get down to business and put him away. 3rd round, probably about 2 minutes and 40-something seconds in.
Where I was gonna take Jones in 3 with a submission as well, but I'm gonna switch it up and say 5th round. Since you took the 3rd round, I'll take the 5th.
It just sounds right.
Yeah, it kind of does sound right. I kind of feel you there with the 3rd round. I think Lionheart is gonna be able to. I think he's gonna be able to get through a lot, and like I said, I think the kid has a chance. I think dude has a chance.
Everybody has a chance.
That's true.
But when it starts,
that is very
your
true.
chance dissipates.
That's very true. It's MMA, and I think anything can happen. And I mean, I guess that's pretty much just where I'm coming from on that, because skill-wise and like I said, on paper, it looks awful for Lionheart.
Oh yeah,
Awful.
I got John Jones 3rd round knockout. I think he's gonna toy with him the first 2 rounds. Or I think he's gonna dominate him the first 2 rounds, and by the 3rd round, he's gonna knock him out.
So we got Rated R Randy going with you said 3rd round knockout?
Yep.
Got Ray over here with the 3rd round submission. EDJ's not expecting it to go past 3 minutes. And I got a 5th round submission for John Bones Jones.
And that's the end of the show, ladies and gentlemen. We really appreciate you all listening to us, taking time out your day, spending a little time with the Strobanks Show. Don't forget to follow us on our socials. That's Strobanks, all 3, from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
We out of here.